There once was a cat, a big, fat, orange cat. Not the kind of cat that climbs curtains or chases lasers. No, this cat had ambition. The kind of ambition that doesn't just want to rule the house, but the entire neighborhood. And what was this? Cat's grand dream. To become a dog. Now, you may be thinking, that's ridiculous. A cat can't be a dog. But tell that to our hero. He didn't care what the laws of biology said. He didn't care what the vet said, or what the birds on the electric wire whispered every morning. No. This cat had one goal: to bark louder than any dog on the block, to sprint like a greyhound, to fetch like a golden retriever, to slobber proudly, to be called a good boy. It started one lazy Sunday, right after lunch. Cat was lying on his back, belly jiggling with every breath, contemplating life. He had tried all the usual cat things: shredding toilet paper, knocking over water glasses, and staring at invisible ghosts in the corner of the ceiling. Nothing hit the spot. Then came the bark. Not his bark, the bark of Maximus, the Great Dane next door. The deepest, woofiest, chest-thumping bark this side of the dog park. It echoed like a war horn across the street. The birds flew. The windows rattled, and something inside our orange cat clicked. That thought: cat is power. He waddled to the window, stared at Maximus through the blinds, and meowed a single word. Oof! Of course it sounded more like myoph, but that didn't matter. In Cat's mind, it was the beginning of a transformation. He jumped off the window sill, fell off and landed with a thud of destiny. He would train. He would grow. Stronger he would become Captain Wiggles, the first feline ever to earn his place in the secret world of dogs. And so began the bark awakening. Cat's first attempt at barking was less than heroic. He climbed on top of a trash can, puffed out his cheeks, arched his back, and shouted into the wind. Rah! Oof! It startled a squirrel, not because it sounded like a bark, but because it sounded like someone dropped a hairball into a blender. Still, a start is a start. Cat began his training immediately. He set up an obstacle course made entirely of flower pots, fallen laundry, and a rogue garden hose. He tried leaping over them. He mostly belly flopped into them, but every time he face planted into a pair of Dad's underwear, he told himself, dogs don't give up, dogs bounce back. Next came fetching. Cat dragged an old tennis ball from under the couch. It smelled like feet and ancient pizza crust. He batted it, then pounced, then batted it again, then sat on it. Not quite fetching, but he was working on it. The pigeons above laughed. You're a cat, cooed one pigeon. You'll never fetch, mocked another cat, narrowed his eyes. I'll fetch your feathers, he muttered. He tried again. This time he picked up the tennis ball in his mouth. He gagged immediately. It tasted like defeat, but he refused to drop it. He strutted across the backyard, tennis ball clenched between his teeth, drooling like a toddler with a popsicle. Progress. But what is a dog without a pack? Captain Wiggles needed followers. He needed allies. He needed a squad. So he set his sights on the dog park. On a bright Monday morning, Cat rolled in a patch of dirt until he smelled like bones and grass. He tied a red curtain around his neck, like a cape, licked his fur into a stylish faux hawk, and marched straight to the park entrance. A chihuahua saw him first, then a corgi, then the entire bark patrol. All eyes turned to the orange puffball with the cape dragging behind him. One German shepherd whispered, "Is that, a cat?" The pug beside him squinted, or a malfunctioning Roomba, but Cat didn't flinch. He raised his paw and shouted, "Bark!" Silence. Then laughter. The dachshunds rolled. The bulldogs guffawed. Even the poodles chuckled into their bow-tied collars. Cat just blinked. "Laugh all you want," he meowed, "but I will earn my place among you. I will be your equal, your alpha, your hero." The dogs giggled harder. One threw a stick at him just for fun. Cat dodged it. Another tossed a frisbee. Cat slapped it out of the air like a ninja. The final test. The ball? Maximus himself hurled a mud-covered tennis ball straight at him. Cat leaped. Everything slowed down. The wind caught his cape. His tail curled into a question mark. He soared for a full 3 feet and splat. He landed face first in a puddle of mystery soup. But when he lifted his head, the ball was in his mouth. A hushed awe fell over the park. Maximus approached. His steps were thunderous. His shadow swallowed Cat whole. "Well," Maximus barked, "you're the weirdest dog I've ever met." Cat grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment." And so, the bark patrol reluctantly accepted their newest, furriest, and most confused member, Captain Wiggles. But peace never lasts long in the animal kingdom. One stormy night, while Cat was practicing his howl meows on the rooftop, a mysterious figure slinked across the pub, small, nimble, and holding what looked like a stolen hot dog bun. Squirrel? Not just any squirrel. Squeak Shadow, leader of the Nut Ninjas. Cat narrowed his eyes. Something big was about to go down. The bark patrol had no idea. The pigeons didn't care, and the raccoons were probably behind it all. But Captain Wiggles knew one thing for sure. His next mission was just beginning. It started with a nut. Not just any nut. A legendary, golden, peanut-encrusted cashew enshrined in the center of Catnap Cove. A quiet corner of the park no dog dared enter. The trees whispered secrets. The grass never grew straight, and the air always smelled suspiciously like wet squirrel. Catnap Cove was forbidden, haunted, they said, a place where cats disappeared chasing laser dots that were never turned off. But Captain Wiggles wasn't like other cats, or dogs, or squirrels, or anything, really. He had heard the legend, whoever holds the golden nut controls the flow of snacks in all pet territory. And guess who just saw Squeak Shadow sprinting from the cove with that golden nut in his grubby little paws? That's right, our Captain Wiggles. Narrowed his eyes, he flicked his tail like a sword. He adjusted his red curtain cape and launched into action while waddled briskly. It's hard to launch when you're shaped like a beach ball with fur. The chase was on. Squeak Shadow zipped across fence tops like lightning. Captain Wiggles scrambled after him, bouncing off garbage bins, hopping on lawn chairs, and tripping over a garden gnome, who had it coming. He meowed, barked all the way, yelling dramatic things like, "Return the nut, villain, and this is a violation of chew toy peace treaties." The squirrel paused on a branch just to smirk. "You're out of your league, fuzzball." Eat, squeaked. Cat growled. "I eat squirrels for breakfast." Which was a lie. He once tried to pounce on one and got pecked by a crow. But never let the truth get in the way of a dramatic comeback, Captain. Wiggles leaped onto the fence. My stand bounced onto a trampoline instead. He launched so high, he passed a pigeon mid-flight who gave him a sarcastic thumbs up. In a kiddie pool, soaked and proud, he stumbled out, still chasing, but Squeak Shadow was gone. Back at the dog park, Maximus was not happy. You let him escape, with the golden nut. That nut controls snack privileges at every treat station for miles. No nut, no treats, no treats, no order, no order. And, he lowered his voice. The cats take over. Wiggles raised a paw. "Hey, watch your whiskers, buddy," Maximus glared. "You may be one of us, Wiggles, but you're still complicated." The Bark Patrol held an emergency meeting under the giant hydrant statue. Dogs of all shapes and snouts argued loudly. The Chihuahua wanted to sniff out the squirrels. The Bulldog proposed digging under their fortress. The Pug just wanted snacks regardless of ownership. Cat, or rather Captain Wiggles, stepped forward. "We don't need brute force," he said. "We need stealth." "Cunning me," the dogs snickered. "You stealth." The Poodle scoffed. "You knock over your food bowl trying to blink." But Wiggles ignored them. His plan was already forming. He knew where the squirrels hid out the ancient, overgrown corner of the park. No dog dared step into the hollow tree of doom. Only cats could reach it, because only cats were insane enough to try. That night, dressed in full tactical mode, was just his curtain cape and a pair of Mom's sunglasses. Captain Wiggles set off. The grass was wet. The moon glared down like an angry nightlight, and the wind howled like a chihuahua with too much caffeine. Wiggles crept through the bushes, ears twitching, tail at full alert. He passed the no-dog zone, snuck beneath the Crow Committee's headquarters, and finally stood before the hollow tree. It loomed like a tower of splinters and fear. Squirrel graffiti covered its bark. "Down with dogs, cats drool, acorns forever." Wiggles took a deep breath. This is it, the belly of the beast. He slipped inside. It was chaos, squirrels everywhere, doing squirrel stuff, nibbling, napping, planning, world domination. One was using a tiny laptop, typing an angry blog post titled, "Why Dogs Are Overrated." Another was making a PowerPoint about snack redistribution. And there, in the center of it all, on a velvet leaf cushion, the golden nut. Captain Wiggles' pupils narrowed. He was about to leap when Intruder squeaked a lookout. The squirrels swarmed. They flew like fuzzy missiles with tails. One threw a nut, another launched a pat. One even pulled a stick of butter out of nowhere and slipped it under Wiggles' paw. He skidded, yowled, tumbled, and somehow landed right in front of the golden nut. Time froze. All eyes were on him. Captain Wiggles reached out a paw, and a voice boomed. Well. It was Squeak Shadow, wearing a tiny crown and a cape made from a sock. "You think you can steal from us?" The squirrel sneered. "No," said Wiggles. "I came to take back what's ours." Squeak Shadow laughed. "You and what army?" Wiggles grinned. The wall behind him exploded. Dogs poured in. Maximus, the Bulldogs, the Chihuahua who somehow rode in on a remote control car. The Bark Patrol had arrived. Wiggles shouted, "Operation Furry Justice is a go." Chaos. Paws flew, nuts rolled. Bark met squeak. A bulldog body slammed a squirrel using a chew toy as a hammer. A dachshund zip-tied 3 squirrels with licorice ropes. And in the middle of it all, Captain Wiggles and Squeak Shadow faced off in the ultimate showdown. They circled each other. One growled, one chittered, one hissed, one squeaked, then dash action. Squirrel launched. Cat dodged. Cat leaped. Squirrel countered. They rolled, scratched, flipped, and bit. At one point, they accidentally high-fived. It was awkward. Finally, Captain Wiggles grabbed the golden nut in midair as it was flung toward the fire pit. He rolled across the floor, stood up, panting, and held it high. "We take back the snacks." The dogs erupted in cheer. The squirrels groaned and sulked into their tree bunkers. Peace was restored. Well, mostly. That evening, back at the dog park, the Bark Patrol threw a celebration. There were chew toys. There were milk bones. There was a "No Cats Allowed" banner crossed out and replaced with "Except Wiggles." Maximus barked with pride. "You did good, furball." Captain Wiggles nodded, soaking in the glory as someone placed a crown made of spaghetti on his head. He didn't care. He looked majestic. The sun set. The pigeons clapped. The raccoons asked for leftovers. But as the stars twinkled above and the party raged on, no one noticed a pair of glowing eyes watching from the shadows. Because the squirrels weren't done yet. They had one more trick up their tiny sleeves, and Captain Wiggles had no idea what was coming next. 3 days passed. The park was peaceful again. Birds chirped. Dogs drooled. Catnip flowed freely. Captain Wiggles napped on his favorite bench, one paw on his belly and the other lightly resting on the now famous golden nut, which had been secured inside a plastic food container labeled "Do Not Eat." All was well. Too well. Captain Wiggles stirred in his sleep. His tail twitched. His ears twitched. His sixth sense, also known as snack vision, tingled. Something was wrong. He leaped off the bench while more like Roldan scanned the area. No chihuahua barking, no bulldogs wrestling. Even Maximus was suspiciously quiet, chewing a stick like he was trying to forget the world. Captain Wiggles narrowed his eyes. He sniffed the air, and there it was. Acorn. Lots of acorn. He turned toward the squirrel forest. It was empty. That's when the ground shook. Thump, dodge thump, dodge thump, dodge. Captain Wiggles jumped onto a trash bin for a better view, and what he saw made his fur puff up like an angry palm. A squirrel army. Hundreds of them marching in formation, wearing tiny helmets made of bottle caps, wielding sharpened sunflower seeds. And at the front a hamster-sized hoverboard was none other than Squeak Shadow, alive, furious, and still wearing his sock cape. Behind him floated a banner, painted with squirrel paws. No, peace. Wiggles ran to sound the alarm. He tripped over a garden hose, face planted into a sprinkler, and shouted, "Dogs! To pause." Maximus rolled out from behind the bushes. "What now?" Wiggles pointed toward the hill. "They've come for the nut, and they've brought backup." All across the park, dogs gathered. The pug snorted awake from a beanbag. The corgi army assembled in V formation. Even the poodle, despite her dramatic disdain for conflict, put on her war tiara. They stood at the gates of the park, facing down the incoming army of fluff and fury. Captain Wiggles climbed atop a picnic table, cape billowing behind him. "This is it," he declared. "The squirrels want chaos. We want belly rubs. They want war. We want snacks. But we will defend our treats. We will protect our chew toys. And we will never ever let them take our squeaky ducks." The dogs howled. And so began the Battle of Barkside. The squirrels attacked first. They launched acorns from slingshots made of old shoelaces. They tossed walnuts dipped in hot mustard. One squirrel even used a spoon to catapult pudding into the eyes of the bulldog. The pugs countered with belly-rolled dodges. The dachshunds dug trenches faster than earthworms on espresso. Captain Wiggles led the charge riding a skateboard duct-taped to a Roomba. He zoomed into battle, yelling, "For snacks and Snuggles!" Squeak Shadow swooped down from above with a glider made of duct tape and leaves. He carried 2 sharpened popsicle sticks and screamed, "This is for the Acorn Empire." They clashed mid-air. Cat versus squirrel. Legend versus menace. Fluff versus fluff. As chaos erupted below, Captain Wiggles locked claws with Squeak Shadow mid-spin. "You just couldn't leave the nut alone, could you?" Wiggles growled. "That nut was ours." Squeak Shadow spat. "You dogs hoard everything. Parks, bones, fire hydrants. This was Squirrel Land before you walked on for paws. You don't even eat the nut," Wiggles snapped. "You just roll it around like a sacred meatball. It's symbolic." The squirrel screeched. They crashed into a seesaw and flew in opposite directions. Wiggles landed in a sandbox. Squeak Shadow landed in a bowl of jelly. Meanwhile, the Bark Patrol held the line. The bulldogs pushed forward with meatball-powered cannons. The poodles activated their fluff shields. Even the catnip birds joined, dive-bombing squirrels with cinnamon sticks. But the squirrels were endless. Too many, too fast, too squeaky. Captain Wiggles saw Maximus pinned down, tail tied to a tricycle. The squirrels were chanting, "One of us, one of us." As they pelted him with popcorn kernels, Wiggles knew what he had to do. He climbed the jungle gym, took a deep breath, and let out a single, mighty, world-shaking sound. Woof. It wasn't a meow. It wasn't a bark. It was BOTHA, perfect harmony, a cosmic meow-off. Time paused. Even the wind stopped to listen. Squirrels froze. Dogs gasped. A pigeon fainted dramatically. Squeak Shadows, crown tilted and slowly. The squirrels began to drop their acorns, one by one, because, in that sound, they heard not war, but unity. Not bark versus squeak. But bark and squeak. Squeak Shadow stood. What was that? Captain Wiggles stepped forward. That was the sound of someone who doesn't care what species he is. "I'm not cat, I'm not dog, I'm not squirrel, I'm Wiggles, and I want snacks." The squirrels blinked, the dogs nodded, even the raccoons poked out from trash cans and clapped. Squeak Shadow looked at the golden nut. Then back at Wiggles, then sighed. "Truce." Wiggles extended a paw. They shook. The golden nut was placed on a shared pedestal. Equal access for all. The pugs licked the squirrels. The bulldogs let go of the slingshots. The pigeons passed around cookies. And just like that, peace was restored. For real this time. Captain Wiggles didn't just stop a war. He created something new. The United Fluff Alliance. Dogs, cats, squirrels, pigeons. Even the ferret who never said anything but always showed up to parties. Together. Forever. That night, as fireworks made of glitter-filled tennis balls exploded in the sky, Captain Wiggles sat on his favorite bench, watching the stars. Maximus plopped beside him. "You're still weird, Wiggles." Wiggles smirked. "And you still drool in your sleep." Maximus grunted. "Good job today." "For whatever you are," Wiggles leaned back. "Thanks. I try." He closed his eyes and whispered one last sentence as the world quieted down. Tomorrow. I'm learning to fly.